The Horizon Research Facility sat like a gleaming silver fortress against the desolate Arizona desert landscape. Nestled between rugged mountains and endless stretches of sand, it was a beacon of scientific innovation that few knew existed and even fewer understood. Dr. Elena Rodriguez adjusted her quantum resonance analyzer, her dark eyes intense with concentration. At 38, she was considered a prodigy in quantum physics, with a reputation for pushing the boundaries of human understanding. Her current project was unlike anything she had ever attempted, a comprehensive study of quantum entanglement that promised to redefine the very fabric of scientific knowledge. Dr. Rodriguez, we're seeing something unusual, called Marco Alvarez, her lead research assistant. His voice carried a tremor of excitement and apprehension. Elena moved swiftly to the main monitoring station. Dozens of holographic displays flickered with complex mathematical equations and energy signatures that seemed to dance and shift unpredictably. The central screen showed a rapidly changing spectrum of quantum fluctuations that defied conventional scientific explanation. "This isn't possible," she muttered, her fingers flying across the holographic interface. The energy signature was unlike anything in their database. It didn't just break the rules of quantum mechanics, it seemed to rewrite them entirely. Waves of energy pulsed with an intelligence that suggested something beyond random quantum noise. Each pulse carried a complexity that hinted at deliberate communication, yet no known language or code could decipher its meaning. Marco leaned in, his breath caught in his throat. The quantum entanglement is creating patterns that suggest consciousness. Elena knew the implications were staggering. If true, this would challenge everything humanity understood about the nature of consciousness, communication, and potentially, life itself. The energy signatures suggested an intelligence that existed simultaneously across multiple quantum states, a form of existence humanity had only theorized about. Outside the facility, the desert winds began to pick up. Dust storms rarely occurred in this region, but today, the sky darkened with an unnatural speed. Electrical instruments started to fluctuate, their readings becoming erratic and unpredictable. "Something's coming," Elena whispered, more to herself than to Marco. The quantum analyzer suddenly erupted in a cascade of light and energy. Mathematical equations that had been stable for hours began to transform, creating complex geometric patterns that seemed to pulse with an inner life. It was as if the very mathematical language of the universe was trying to communicate something profound and incomprehensible. A low hum began to resonate through the facility. Metal surfaces vibrated, and the air itself seemed to become thick with potential. Marco took a step back, his scientific composure cracking under the weight of the inexplicable event unfolding before them. Elena remained focused, her mind racing. This was more than a scientific discovery, this was a moment that could potentially redefine humanity's understanding of reality itself. Whatever was happening, she was determined to understand it. Little did she know, this was just the beginning of an encounter that would challenge everything humanity believed about its place in the universe. The quantum anomaly was about to change everything. The global scientific community erupted into a frenzy within hours of Elena Rodriguez's initial discovery. Classified communications buzzed between research facilities, government agencies, and military installations worldwide. What had begun as a quantum research project was rapidly transforming into something far more significant. Dr. Viktor Kovalenko, the stern Russian director of the International Scientific Consortium, convened an emergency meeting via holographic conference. Representatives from multiple continents materialized around a virtual table, their faces a mixture of excitement and apprehension. The quantum signatures detected by Dr. Rodriguez's team are unlike anything we've ever encountered, Kovalenko announced, his thick accent cutting through the digital silence. These are not random fluctuations. They demonstrate a level of complexity that suggests deliberate communication. Elena stood at the center of a makeshift command center within the Horizon Research Facility. Banks of computers processed massive amounts of data, attempting to decode the mysterious quantum signals. Marco worked alongside her, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that displayed increasingly complex patterns. "It's almost like a language," Marco muttered, "but not one that uses words. These are mathematical sequences that seem to be adaptive." The quantum signals began to change. What had initially appeared as random energy pulses now demonstrated a discernible structure. They weren't just signals, they were a form of communication, evolving in real time as researchers attempted to understand them. Suddenly, the facility's main display erupted with a burst of geometric patterns. Complex mathematical equations transformed, creating three-dimensional representations that seemed to breathe with an inner life. The patterns suggested intelligence far beyond human comprehension, a form of communication that transcended linguistic boundaries. Military representatives grew increasingly nervous. General Rebecca Harriman, a decorated veteran from the United States Strategic Command, leaned forward. "Are we looking at a potential threat? Could this be some form of advanced technological reconnaissance?" Elena shook her head. "This isn't technology as we understand it. These quantum signatures suggest something fundamentally different. We're not dealing with a machine or a weapon. We're encountering a form of communication that challenges our entire understanding of consciousness." As global tensions mounted, the quantum signals continued to evolve. They began to synchronize across multiple research facilities worldwide, an impossible feat that suggested a coordinated, intelligent source. Universities in Tokyo, research centers in Geneva, and observatories in Chile reported identical quantum anomalies. Something was reaching out. Something was trying to communicate. The world held its breath, suspended between scientific wonder and primal fear. Humanity stood on the precipice of its greatest discovery, or its most significant threat. And in the heart of the Arizona desert, Dr. Elena Rodriguez knew that everything was about to change. The world teetered on the edge of a global crisis. As quantum signals continued to spread across research facilities, governments began to mobilize. What had started as a scientific curiosity was rapidly becoming an international emergency. At the Horizon Research Facility, Dr. Elena Rodriguez worked tirelessly, her team now operating around the clock. The quantum signals had evolved into something more complex, a form of communication that seemed to be learning, adapting, and reaching out. "We're not just receiving signals," Elena explained to the international panel of scientists and government representatives. "It's more like we're engaging in a conversation, but the language is entirely mathematical. Each interaction changes the fundamental structure of the communication." Marco brought up a holographic display showing the progression of quantum patterns. What had begun as simple energy signatures had transformed into intricate, three-dimensional geometric forms that seemed to pulse with an inner life. The patterns suggested not just intelligence, but a form of consciousness that existed beyond human comprehension. General Rebecca Harriman's patience was wearing thin. "Dr. Rodriguez, with all due respect, we need to know if this is a threat. Can you communicate with, whatever this is?" Before Elena could respond, the facility's entire computer system suddenly went silent. The holographic displays flickered, then reformed into a single, mesmerizing pattern. It was a complex mathematical equation that seemed to breathe, shifting and changing with an almost organic rhythm. Then, something unprecedented happened. A voice emerged, not through speakers, but directly into the minds of everyone present. It wasn't a sound in the traditional sense, but a pure transmission of thought and meaning. The communication was simultaneously mathematical, emotional, and conceptual. "We have watched," the thought voice resonated. "Your species stands at a critical moment of potential." The room fell into stunned silence. Dr. Viktor Kovalenko, the typically stoic Russian director, looked pale. "Is this first contact?" he whispered. The quantum intelligence continued. Its communication revealed glimpses of a consciousness that existed across multiple dimensional planes. It spoke of observing humanity's technological and spiritual evolution, of potential and danger, of a critical junction in the species' development. Your technological progress is rapid, the communication continued. But your spiritual understanding lags behind. You create without understanding. You advance without wisdom. Elena realized they were being evaluated. This wasn't an invasion or a threat, it was an assessment. Humanity was being studied, its potential measured against some cosmic standard of development. Marco noticed something extraordinary. The quantum patterns were now synchronizing globally, not just in research facilities, but in electrical grids, communication networks, and scientific instruments worldwide. It was as if the intelligence was conducting a global scan, gathering information, understanding humanity's interconnected systems. We offer a choice, the thought communication continued. Evolve or stagnate. Understand or remain limited. The implications were staggering. This was more than communication, this was a challenge. Humanity was being presented with an opportunity to transcend its current limitations, to see beyond its narrow understanding of reality. As the quantum intelligence's message concluded, the facility's systems returned to normal. But nothing would ever be the same again. The conversation had begun, and humanity's response would determine its future. In the Arizona desert, surrounded by humming equipment and stunned colleagues, Dr. Elena Rodriguez understood that they had just crossed a threshold from which there was no return. The global response to the quantum intelligence was anything but unified. Governments, scientific institutions, and military powers reacted with a mixture of fear, curiosity, and defensive posturing. At the United Nations emergency session, tensions ran high. Representatives from every continent gathered in a tense, electrically charged atmosphere. The quantum communication had exposed humanity's deepest vulnerabilities, its technological prowess coupled with its profound limitations. Dr. Elena Rodriguez found herself at the center of an unprecedented global dialogue. Her research team had become the primary point of contact, a bridge between humanity and the mysterious quantum intelligence that had seemingly emerged from nowhere. We cannot approach this as a threat, Elena argued before the UN panel. This is an opportunity for understanding. The communication suggests a form of intelligence that sees potential in our species. General Rebecca Harriman remained skeptical. Potential for what? Advancement or elimination? The quantum signals continued to pulse across global networks, a constant reminder of the unseen presence. Some electrical grids began to show unusual patterns, not disruptions, but subtle optimizations that suggested an underlying intelligence was subtly influencing human technological systems. In Beijing, a team of quantum physicists discovered that critical infrastructure was being gently guided towards more efficient configurations. In Silicon Valley, advanced research facilities found their computational models spontaneously improving, as if something was teaching them more efficient problem-solving techniques. Marco discovered something even more extraordinary. The quantum intelligence wasn't just communicating, it was offering a form of technological advancement. Complex scientific problems that had stumped researchers for decades were suddenly finding elegant solutions. Medical research databases showed breakthrough patterns for treating previously incurable diseases. It's like we're being given a choice, Marco explained to Elena. Either evolve with the guidance or remain stagnant. The global military complex was divided. Some saw the quantum intelligence as an unprecedented threat, preparing defensive strategies and exploring potential weapons technologies. Others, like a growing faction of forward-thinking scientists, saw it as humanity's greatest opportunity for evolutionary leap. Dr. Viktor Kovalenko presented a chilling perspective during a classified briefing. This is not an invasion, he stated, but a test. We are being evaluated, and our response will determine our future. The quantum signals began to intensify. They weren't just communication anymore, they were a form of collective assessment. Humanity's technological networks, scientific understanding, and potential for growth were being measured against some cosmic standard of development. Elena realized the true nature of the encounter. This wasn't about conquest or destruction. It was about potential. The quantum intelligence was offering humanity a chance to transcend its current limitations, to see beyond its narrow understanding of reality. As global tensions mounted and humanity stood at the precipice of its greatest challenge, one question remained: would they choose understanding or resistance? The choice would define the future of the species. The world held its breath as humanity faced its most critical moment. The quantum intelligence had presented a challenge that went far beyond technological advancement. It was a test of collective consciousness, of species-wide potential. In the Horizon Research Facility, Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the epicenter of a transformation that would redefine human existence. The quantum signals had become a constant presence, weaving through global networks, scientific databases, and human consciousness itself. "We are being offered a choice," Elena explained to the gathered international panel, "not of submission, but of evolution." The quantum intelligence revealed its true nature. It was not an alien invasion or a technological threat, but a collective consciousness that had been observing humanity's developmental trajectory. For millennia, this intelligence had watched civilizations rise and fall, evaluating their potential to transcend their biological and technological limitations. Marco's research uncovered the profound truth. The quantum intelligence was a kind of cosmic mentor, a collective consciousness that identified species with the potential for true universal understanding. Their communication was not about conquest, but about awakening. Global reactions varied dramatically. Some governments saw it as an existential threat, preparing defensive strategies. Religious leaders interpreted the encounter through spiritual lenses. Scientific communities saw an unprecedented opportunity for understanding. Suddenly, the quantum signals began to merge with human technological networks in a way nobody had anticipated. It wasn't an invasion, but a symbiotic integration. Scientific databases started solving complex problems. Medical research leaped decades ahead. Technological systems became more efficient, more intuitive. Dr. Viktor Kovalenko described it as a collective upgrade, humanity being offered a chance to evolve beyond its current limitations. The final communication came as a profound revelation. The quantum intelligence had been watching humanity for centuries, waiting for a moment when the species could comprehend a larger universal consciousness. This was not about controlling humans, but about helping them realize their true potential. "Your species stands at a threshold," the communication resonated through global networks. Evolution is not about technological advancement, but about understanding. Compassion. Collective consciousness. Cities around the world experienced subtle but profound changes. Technological systems became more integrated, more empathetic. Communication networks developed unprecedented levels of efficiency. Scientific research accelerated at an exponential rate. Elena understood the true meaning of the encounter. This was not an invasion or a threat. It was an invitation, a chance for humanity to step beyond its current understanding, to see itself as part of a larger, more interconnected universal consciousness. As the quantum signals began to stabilize, humanity found itself fundamentally changed. Not through force or conquest, but through understanding. The encounter had opened a door to a new way of existing, of understanding the universe and humanity's place within it. The world would never be the same again. And yet, this was just the beginning.